What's good guys, this is Miasin, and today I will be covering what I personally believe are the top 10 best decks of the upcoming format post the ban list and also post Dark World structure deck. And even though Mystic Mine getting banned in the ban list was pretty huge, the rest wasn't kind of super impactful, so we're gonna have to work with what we have. As for the structure deck, I'm not gonna lie, maybe it might end up doing more than what we think, so we never know, the TCG players are always super creative. Anyways, as always, before proceeding into this top 10 video, my man friendly reminder to like and subscribe. I really appreciate you guys. Let's try to get this video to 1,000 likes. I know we can do it. And now let's jump right into it. Alrighty, so in the number 10 position is a deck that actually won a YCS, and even though people don't really respect it anymore, it's still a deck that can steal some games out of Tearlaments, and that would be Exorcister. So basically, Yu-Gi-Oh! Is very simple right now. You're either playing Tearlaments or you're playing a deck that is basically designed to be Tearlaments, and Exorcister is kind of like that, because you can kind of make your own built-in version of Dweller or Sanafond, and you can play Shifter, which is very filthy. In the number 9 position, I have a deck that doesn't play Shifter, but that is still very good because it can main deck Lava Golem in Sphere mode and just break boards like there is no tomorrow, and that would be Rune Exploit. The deck used to be extremely good, but now with the Shizu monsters being able to shuffle back your targets for the Runic Fountain, the deck definitely got way worse, so that's the reason why it's just number 9. And the number 8 position is a deck that actually used to be way better, but again got a little worse as, you know, it doesn't really have the best matchups anymore, and that would be Recast on Avalon. It's very resourceful and actually used to be able to play through the Mystic Mine if you had Glamour, so that you could tribute your one and only monster on the field, but now that Mystic Mine is banned, well, you don't really have to rely on that, and also you can no longer play Mystic Mine yourself in order to use that strategy against other decks. Nonetheless, it's still a very good deck, but the more people know about it, the worse it is. Next up in the number 7 position is Ishizu Vernalizer Madolche. So I know for a fact that some players played that deck at YCS Dortmund and did very well with it, and that's the reason why it's in my top 10, and basically it gets to play a lot of cards to revive back your Earth monsters, so basically your Madolche monsters, and you can play a lot of hand shops as well as the Shizu monsters. It's essentially an anti-Tearlaments deck that doesn't play Shifter, if that makes any sense. Anyways, next up in the number 6 position is very similar, another Ishizu deck that isn't Tearlaments, and that would be Naturia Ishizu. So I know what it does, but not like super in-depth, so I obviously know that it can synchro summon on the opponent's turn, it can utilize a bunch of graveyard effects, obviously with the Mole Cricket, the Sacred Tree, etc., but unfortunately it has to play a lot of Garnets in order to make it work. Unfortunately, like all of the old Naturia monsters are kind of ass cheeks, so if you draw them, they pretty much do nothing. And the number 5 position is a deck that actually top 8'd YCS Minneapolis, and that was concocted by a friend of mine. That would be Bestial branded Despia Tearlaments. Ridiculously good deck, it doesn't rely on the Shizu cards or whatever to play, and it benefits of the opponent milling your cards, and you're pretty much running upwards of like 12 Bestial monsters in that deck because Lubellion also has Synergy, and Saronir being able to Foolish for your branded Retribution to recycle back your branded fusions that you milled, or any other branded spells or traps is absolutely remarkable. And of course, the deck can fusion summon like there's no tomorrow because you have your branded fusion, you have your polymerization from the King of the Swamp or whatever else, and on top of that, you have your Tearlaments effects. So it's basically a big pile of 60 cards, and the only drawback with it is that you're pretty much always locked under fusions if you're using branded fusion. Alright, so in the number 4 position, I have an extremely unique deck because it can simultaneously play and lose against D-Shifter, and that would be Draco Slayer. So if you're going up against a deck like Flandres and you get shifted, you're in a bad position because you're going to have to give up on a lot of plays in order to, you know, end on somewhat of a board. But if you're playing against Tearlaments and you shifter your opponent, then you can still do some things, and your opponent basically does nothing. And of course, it can throw out Dweller, it can make a lot of negates, it's very explosive, it doesn't care about the graveyard, so it's just a really nice pick going second against Tearlaments, and going first as well. In the number 3 position is a deck that only exists to beat Tearlaments very specifically, and that would be Bestial Sprite. 9 Bestial monsters in the main deck, 3 D-Shifters sometimes, and of course a bare minimum engine of Splite cards. You couldn't ask for any better to beat that deck. Alrighty, in the number 2 position, I have arguably one of the most annoying decks of the format, and that would be Flandres. Again, it plays Dimension Shifter, it does really annoying things with one single card, the field spell is cracked, the trap card is cracked, Eaglin is still insane, the Windbearer statue is broken, oh my god. Yeah, definitely don't sleep on Flandres, even though I think the deck is really getting carried by D-Shifter and the Windbearer statue, because outside of that, the deck kinda sucks, not gonna lie, it's a worse Monarch, but it is what it is right now. It can abuse overpowered cards, so that's the reason why it's doing that well. Alrighty, so before proceeding into the number 1 position, which is kind of obvious, I'm gonna give an honorable mention to Danger Dark World, which could have been in the top 10, but unfortunately, it's gonna have to wait. Number 1 is Ishizu Tearlaments, no shit. So the deck is obviously very powerful and consistent, but it has some flaws. It loses to the Bistan monsters, D-Shifter, Abyss Dweller, the Windbearer statue, Necro Valley, Macrocosmos, D-Fisher, and the list goes on, and some of those cards are now 3, so but yeah, the ban list didn't really make that deck any worse. Like, Herald of Orange Light to 1 is pretty much the only change, and that is completely irrelevant because some people didn't really play it in the first place. And the Grapha Fusion from the Dark World structure deck will make this deck a little better if you're planning on playing King of the Swamp, because you can easily turbo out this card by substituting the name of Grapha with King of the Swamp when you're fusing it with any other dark monster. So yeah, it's still a tier 0 deck, and Mystic Mind getting banned definitely allows you to be a little more aggressive and not really care about the consequences. But that's pretty much it for this top 10 video. Thank you guys so much for watching. My guys, let me know, what do you think is the best deck of the format, or rather the best decks to counter the best deck in the comment section below. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.